And they finally kicked it through.
Welcome once again to Inside LAFC, the Max and Vince podcast, here from the Performance Center, the LAFC Performance Center in glorious Alhambra. And I say that every week, Vince, but it truly is. We just had a rainstorm all day, and now the air is clean and fresh and sweet. And we just saw great training. Great to be here.
It was a very good day for training. It is great to be here. And every time you say the great, glorious Alhambra and I make a joke, somebody goes, hey, I live in Alhambra. I will no longer joke about Alhambra. It is nice.
No, I say that because I haven't ventured out in Alhambra, but everyone says I should, and soon enough I will. Dining, you name it, we'll do it. This is an LA podcast, and we're very happy about our city. We're happy to be here, and
Yes.
let's start. Obviously, everyone's thinking World Cup.
Uh-huh.
And LAFC has a stake in this with 5 players on international duty, and it is worth saying we don't know if all 5 of them will make World Cup rosters. USA's not in yet. We're recording this on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
They're in, though. They're in.
Well, I just spoke with Steve Trundle, and I was like, hey, I'm not going to ask you about national team because I'm sure you played on the national team. You don't take anything for granted, blah, blah. He goes, no, they're in.
They're in.
So there you go.
People, the Costa Ricans I've spoken to have said, you're in. We'd be crazy. They have 9 guys carrying yellows. You have to realistically approach this. If you look at Costa Rica, their possession, it's always hovering around 30 or in the 20%. They don't touch the ball.
No.
So how do you get 6 goals? It's untenable.
Yeah, and if they do
get the ball,
flip their style and try to do that all of a sudden, there's no way that the U.S. isn't scoring 1 or 2.
Or more.
Yeah, they have to keep that 6-goal gap, and it's just not.
So realistically, Costa Rica is looking in that. So we can put Kellen Acosta into that as well. And that's pretty exciting. And there's World Cup qualifying going on all over. And you might be listening to this podcast after the Wednesday CONCACAF games where we know the identity, we know everything's happening. And Friday we have a draw. But not many clubs could say that have that kind of stake. Yes, they have World Cup players. I think Major League Soccer as a whole will have 50, 60 guys. I think
a lot of them don't spread it out.
Yeah.
Per se, like there's clubs that maybe have 3 or 4 guys, but there's like 3 guys that all play on the U.S. national team, or 2 in the U.S. and 1 for Canada. Like
Canada's a game changer with MLS
Canada
numbers,
is a game
obviously.
changer for sure. But now we have U.S., we have Canada, we have Ecuador, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. We think there's definitely that real possibility that a Uruguayan player could be going to play in the World Cup.
I said hi to Brian Rodriguez as he came off here, and just reiterating here how beloved Brian is with this club. You talk to John Thorrington and Will Coons. He goes, he is the most liked guy in LAFC right now. Everyone listens, and he'll make time for us. And I sit there and I go, hey, good luck for Uruguay. Maybe make the Mundial. And he goes, we'll see. It's a possibility.
He's a different guy. And then I'm not saying he was ever, because that's been across the board since he's been here. In that locker room, he is one of the number 1 favorite guys. He pumps up his teammates. They love him as a teammate. They love the effort that he gives. They love the attention that he gives to his teammates. But more so, he started being more outwardly facing, a more gregarious, easier guy to talk to, because I think he has bought in more like, I'm in LA. I got to do what's best for me here in LA. I'm not just looking to go to the next spot. I'm going to make it here. And I think more so than ever, Uruguay making the team and him maybe being slightly on the outside looking in, from a selfish LAFC perspective, is the best possible situation, because there's a carrot at the end. At the end of this season now, and you know how badly he celebrated when Uruguay got in. I saw him post on his social media channels. He wants to be there so badly, and he knows the only way to be there is to play well with this team. Yeah,
and you could see that etched on his face. And Uruguay, there's not a lot of guys like Brian Rodriguez. It makes sense to certainly kick the tires if you're Diego Alonso, who did coach in Major League Soccer.
Understands so he knows the nature of this league.
Yeah, but I did forget to mention, special guest this week, Ismael Tajouri-Shradi will be joining us. And we want to get to know a little bit more about him.
I want to know.
Interesting
his
story.
Story is very interesting. Born in Switzerland, Libyan parents, moved to Austria, has an Austrian passport, then eventually makes his way out to New York. A chance to win back-to-back championships for him. Yeah. So we want to know a little bit more about him.
Libya is such a very interesting place, especially in soccer circles where you have North African countries doing so well, Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, and then Libya's there, and they're trying to pick up the pieces. It's been ravaged by war, and these players certainly been affected. So that's part of the discussion. We'll get to it with Izzy, or Ishi. We're going to find out.
I think it's Izzy.
Izzy. He wants to make it easy for everyone. We appreciate that. We have players that have connections to LAFC that I think people will be pulling for. Diego Rossi, who was with the Uruguay camp. Walker Zimmerman, who is a stalwart with the U.S. camp. Kim Moon-Hwan will be pulling for him as he tries to make this Korean team as well. Can we throw Marco Orena? If probably not. He's on the
Sure. I mean, has he been really called in lately?
No, he's not. He's enjoying the back end of his career in Australia. He joined us on our IG live show and he said he had a lot of love for the LAFC fans. If you missed that, but he sends his loves. So. Getting back to this World Cup thing, I'm very excited. It's a World Cup. It's the biggest sporting event on the planet by miles. And LAFC, we can watch these guys play it as well. What is it that is important about how you manage that? It is interesting, I think, when you look at these players playing for a World Cup. As a club, you have these guys. I want to scream it to the heavens and say, look, we have a guy on the U.S. national team, which is crazy when you think about it. There's like 5 MLS players maybe that'll feature big minutes on the U.S. team. We have one of those guys.
So there's that weird balance, right? Because I agree with you. Every MLS club should want a player to go to the national team and play in the World Cup. It's great for the league. It's great for your team. However, that player may be more valued by his national team than by his club team. And when you're here, you got to play for your spot. So I don't think that has ever happened here at LAFC, but I'm sure there's been clubs at times that are like, play that guy a little bit more because he's going to be in the World Cup and because we want to make him a star. It sometimes happens. You know that those conversations happen. Here, there's guys that are fighting for their spots, and it's interesting that you, again, like a Brian Rodriguez, he's fighting for his spot with the national team and every day in training here. We've got quite an array of attackers. So, yeah, you do have to balance it and say, look, I know at the end of the day you want to be at the World Cup. In order to get to the World Cup, you got to do well here. Well, get into the starting 11. I mean, like Steve says, players kind of pick themselves. I think even Ray Hudson used to say this. Players pick themselves. They also take themselves out of contention by not playing well. So I think that's the mindset you got to have.
During COVID, there was a bad relationship with World Cup qualifiers. We all they're going off.
That was rough.
That was really rough. It's different now. Thanks for the schedule. We're early on in the season, and the players are a little older and wiser, and Brian at the top of this. Who could forget the time when all 4 South Americans were called up, and they all got COVID?
Right before a playoff game.
Right before a playoff game. You can understand if supporters or MLS
with
fans
Carlos
in general
Vela just starting to get back into the fold. And then when we finally got them back in the fold, what did we do? We went on a run in the CONCACAF Champions League. Imagine. I'm just saying. Just imagine. So,
But now it's time to be excited. The World Cup will happen after the MLS season has concluded. We didn't play this week to accommodate that. The 5 World Cup players have a game no later than Wednesday. They'll find their way back to the club. How much they play, we shall see. But Maxime Crépeau will play, you would imagine. Didn't play.
I would hope now that they're in, you got to give them a look in these.
Oh man, I'm talking about LAFC when they get back.
Oh, of course, of course.
And also for Canada, we'll find out. You'll know probably if you've listened to us afterwards. I hope so. They want to finish first, but
they do want to finish first. But we've talked about it. The margins between him and Borjan are razor thin, so I don't think you're losing much by deciding to get him some minutes in between the posts.
Daniil Henry played in the clincher, so I mean, what a story to tell to his grandkids.
Yeah.
That I was there.
The party there at BMO Field, the second that final whistle went, was something else.
I couldn't get enough of it, and it was, you just saw it etched on their faces how important this was, a historic moment that and you immediately think they're going to share it with their fathers or their family members. It's, I've never seen Canada in a World Cup. What a wonderful moment, and Daniil Henry has a story to tell, and we'll share it with you here at some point about that. And then the two kids, Sifu and Chiki down in Ecuador, who are also in. That's huge for Ecuador because when you think of that part of the world, Colombia is number 1, and they're laboring to get in and may not get in. And Ecuador has created incredible identity in this sport over the last 5-10 years, not only with players, World Cup, with their league. And LAFC has a stake in that too with these guys.
To imagine that Ecuador has eclipsed Colombia.
They have.
Region of the world, and
their league is better. Maybe I should hold off on that. But when you look at the success of their clubs, they've had more success in the last 5 years than Colombia has.
The players that they are in, to that point, the players that we're reaping some of the benefit of, the young players coming through here, and then they're matriculating on to Europe. Like those Ecuadorian players are now going to Europe, and they're making names for themselves. I think a guy that we really love, Moises Caicedo, who doesn't get to play a lot, but he was a heavily sought after at all. He was Manchester United was in for him.
He was.
You know that? Can you imagine? Can any Ecuadorian imagine saying that? Yeah. But again, he's a talent. I think if he finds a good landing spot, but that's where we kind of looked at it and said, look, that under-20 World Cup team, which surprised a lot. I don't think it surprised people in that region of the world because they knew what they had. we've got some of the very talented guys, and they can move on. And I think, Sifu, Cheeky haven't, especially Sifu hasn't gotten a ton of minutes, but they played at every level for Ecuador, so they're part of the system. They're going to be someone that they're going to continue to look at to be a part of this.
That's a great point. The manager has their eyes on them for a long time span. Sifu's play, you could say, because he just got started in the league. Certainly, his ceiling's very high. Still gets called in to an Ecuador camp, which he hasn't before. So just in closing, Jose Cifuentes, Diego Palacios, Maxime Crepeau, Daniil Henry, and Kellen Acosta, all with these.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Kellen Acosta playing at Azteca? Because
yes, I know you do.
Well, I do because
I do too. But it's like I've talked about
from this angle too. Let's talk about Mexico also, because I think a lot of our listeners, their allegiance is to Mexico. So and you and I
know Chiva Mayor Julio's gonna keep me up when I badmouth Mexico. I'm just saying it because it's like where are the next group of players to come through?
I just want to talk about Mexico because you and I both enjoy the Mexican national team. We enjoy the Mexican league. We see things. I'm not going to badmouth them. I'll say that
I don't badmouth them. I just point out.
I'll say that was a fun match. You've pointed out, and a lot of people pointed out, that might be the last time we have a match like that of that caliber for Mexico, USA, because next time they don't have to qualify, and then going from here on out, there's going to be 48 teams in the World Cup, maybe even more. Who knows? There might even be a World Cup every 2 years. So that was. For a showpiece, I thought the game was good. It was a little bummer that a lot of people couldn't get into the stadium, obviously because of COVID.
It was lacking atmosphere.
They couldn't have it as
the usual
big.
atmosphere.
The usual atmosphere that was there. Usually, your former broadcast partner Hercules Gomez brought this up. They don't play it in the daytime anymore, which used to have that that nice golden hue when they'd be out there. But
golden hue.
I think the game was better for it that they didn't play in the daytime, because that's definitely
like Ashley Schaefer right there.
Yeah, the conditions are horrible. I really liked the game that Kellen Acosta played. I think that he frustrated Mexico, who...
Wait.
Somebody's celebrating
That's Mamadou, and I bet you it was a Senegalese goal.
Bet you.
Senegal. We're doing this as Senegal's playing Egypt in World Cup qualifying. I'll double check, but that was primal scream.
Yeah. You know what? That when the Euros that couple of years ago, it was fun to watch the Euros. It was fun to watch the World Cup. He's still screaming. It's fun when there's big tournaments here. Even the guys that don't go are all watching the games, and they get hyped. It's really fun to be here because you hear stuff like that.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking that, because we were watching it before we put it away and it said, I knew they were going to penalties. Mm-hmm. Something happened. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it's someone else screaming because the food was too hot. I don't know, but that sounded like someone getting into the World Cup.
But the U.S. had a good performance, and I think Kellen really stifled Mexico's ability to transition, which is the job he was set out there to do. And I think he gets a little bit of flack from the U.S. national team fans because they also want equality going forward. Although I would say he played the two best passes of the match. That should have resulted possibly in goals. And then I think from the Mexico side, and you can touch more on this, is Tata's, he's white-knuckling it a little bit, right?
He is.
He's clenching. He's
not
really
bringing new players.
Yeah, he's really dove into what he already knows. Chucky Lozano was interesting out there, but he does seem a little bit rusty, having coming back from an injury.
El Tridente, is that what they call it? The front three have done nothing.
I thought the midfield was a bigger problem, because other than watching Edson Alvarez, who's one of my favorite players, I love watching him, especially for Ajax. But other than watching him and saying like, how has he not gotten his second yellow card? And then Ache had one good pass where he dinked it over the top. The midfield didn't do much. I think that's where Mexico's really struggling.
I wish we had a camera on this.
I know.
Mamadou Fall. It has to be Mamadou. I'm putting the mat together.
I mean, he might just come running out.
I hope he does.
Out.
It's World Cup.
But what's your take on U.S. Mexico, the dynamic now?
We're getting there. Senegal's up. It's not final. 3-1 on PK.
Oh, okay.
So
well, then
it looks pretty good.
That's what it has to be.
I will, as an overall, this is the fourth matchup between these two in 9 months. I'm like, okay.
You need a break.
I just want to see.
You're going to get a very long break.
We're going to get a long break, but I don't want to. We'll get these chances.
That's why face each other in a World Cup knockout again, though.
The fact they play so much makes it, to me, the best soccer rivalry. And I know Argentina, Brazil, and Germany, Netherlands, and England, Scotland, but those teams don't play each other enough where we see it. So that's what separates USA, Mexico. But 4 times in 9 months is plenty to certainly. Wet your whistle with regards to this rivalry. And this was the least one with as much of the atmosphere that you'd have done. It was a grind. I'm glad it was over. It was exhausting leading up to it because so much was at stake. It's not fun.
No.
What is the word? We were talking to Mark Dos Santos about suffering.
Suffering is a...
Players, fans, coaches.
It's the thing that in English that I don't think we have quite the right reference for it, but suffering in the way you suffer through a match. It felt like that.
Okay, so it was pretty good. Let's flip over to LAFC. With regards to the international players, the first thing I noticed when we came here to training is in years past, the last 2 years, when guys were gone, you could sense it. They didn't have enough bodies to fill it out. But you're watching these guys scrimmage. They have a full team.
Yeah.
There's no shortage. You're obviously going to bring some guys in. But
A couple of the Vegas Lights guys were here to fill in a little bit of the numbers.
if nobody could fly in for some reason from international duty, LAFC's in good shape. They could get a very competitive 11. And that is, I mean, just to say that is bonkers. An 11 that's, I mean, I think the fullback situation, you would have to be a little creative because you got Ryan Hollingshead and Kim Moon-Hwan now gone and Chiqui Palacios. You'd have to be creative and Franco Escobar injured. Everywhere there's answers for a solid 11.
Yeah, there's a solid 11. I think where you go that next level of depth. So we have the depth to replace that 11 if we really need it. But yes, if there was an additional injury or additional something, the bench is going to get a little thin. But like we said when we were out here a couple weeks ago and we were watching, we were like, which one's the starting 11? You could very well say that again. Even with some of the Vegas guys filling in some of the spots, we were like, there's some guys over there that we're used to maybe being a part of the 11. And again, this is Tuesday. So Monday they had off, Tuesday's first day back, and they kind of really ramp it up. So there's no really inclination of what the starting 11 is going to be. But watching 11v11, we were like, those are two really good teams, and we're for sure not saying that's the starters, and we're not saying that that's the bench on the other side.
It's a very reassuring feeling, and for LAFC as they prepare to make their second trip across country, it's a long one to Orlando. Obviously did that to Miami. It's odd because we haven't faced East Coast teams, and now this is I think second trip to Orlando.
Second trip all the way across country.
So the second trip to Orlando City, I think, and second game against
yes,
Orlando.
We did play against Orlando, and actually that was during an international shorthanded time period as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
So with regards to some of the players coming in, we touched on it briefly. I think we pivoted here for a little bit, but Maxime Crépeau will start for LAFC. Kellen Acosta probably. The others, Daniel Henry wasn't really a lockdown starter. There's options here, and then we'd have to wait and see about the Ecuadorians about where they come in. But you figure they'll get there Thursday.
Luckily, they play today.
Yeah.
So let's say,
Wednesday.
They'll be in training Thursday. They'll get home sometime Wednesday. They'll check
Kellen
him out.
plays Wednesday, travels Thursday, may go
directly there. Yeah. So it's all a matter of how much he plays in Costa Rica.
And same thing with the Canadian players. So it's an option, but feel reassured with what the team is. But this is, again, a challenging game for a lot of reasons because, look, you don't need me to tell you what happens the following week. And it is El Tráfico, El Clásico Angelino, call it what you will. We got to resolve this thing, too, here because I don't think
we're ever going to, at least you and I are not going to resolve
not
this.
gonna
But this
resolve
Orlando is a good test because, one, it's the travel. Two, yes, you're working on a short week. But they've got some talent, man. They've got two pretty good center backs. They got Pereira, who can... You never know where he is, right? And he's not one to shy away from a tackle. So you know that you got to watch out from him on both sides of the ball. Pato had an incredible game against Portland. I don't know if he can keep it up 2 weeks in a row.
He's like, you really have to manage his minutes.
Yeah. And if Facundo Torres comes back in time that he can feature, I mean, this is a good team. So it's a good test away where the guys got to come together after a short week. And I think it's going to be indicative of how they roll it into.
I think this is the big spot for LAFC to get the best, and it's a bit cliche, to see really where they are at.
Yes.
Coming off an international break, 5 players away on international duty, still some smaller injuries to deal with, and now a tough road trip against a team that's going to be in the playoffs.
You got to put in a performance. You come out flat, there's going to be more questions. And like you said, going into the next week, the following week, you don't want more questions.
Yes. You mentioned Facundo Torres, a guy that came from the same Peñarol club that gave us Diego Rossi and Brian Rodriguez. Pancho went from Montevideo Wanderers, which has got a very interesting history. And that's an exciting part of this team as well. But when we look at what to expect coming off this incredible win, and that win for Vancouver was great because you get into a good mood. And we've seen that good mood manifest itself here with this team in these last 2 weeks, and certainly being at training, more so for Mamadou Fall, who's over the moon, I would imagine. But this is a spot where we'd like to see some guys, maybe Brian get that goal, maybe Chicho get immersed in it too, see Mahala take that next step. See that midfield, that'll be a little trickier because with no Kellen Acosta,
Yeah.
where you could see it gel a little more because it's not there. Remember, Kellen played as a fullback as well, so he's like the Swiss Army knife. He's an amazing player to have.
That's what's going to be tough. But they did have a couple extra days of training for the guys that were here. So they were talking about specifically how they work on their build out. So I think that will help the midfield regardless of how you're gelling with the actual pieces. And yeah, to your point, when you look at the season, there's a lot of things, a lot of boxes that you ticked off. And I think the Vancouver game was a big box because you went down early and you thought, oh no, is this a classic Vancouver game? And they flipped the script. Portland, same type of thing. You went down, you got the red card, but you couldn't get anything until the very last minute. You kind of flipped the script. I think this is another box to tick off. Like you said, coming out of international window, how do you react to coming out of international window? And I think so far they're really putting the pieces together in little bits of experience where they can say, think back to that game for when we're in game 30 of 34, or even when we're in the playoffs and we're in a hostile environment. So these little things, and then if you can tick this box, clearly that next box is winning at Dignity Health Sports Park. It has to.
And we'll have plenty of time to preview that. But with this team built this squad to have depth, to have experience, to have MLS know-how. They have all of that now.
Yes.
And it really hit me this week when you look at the plan of the season and how choreographed and scripted, in a way, it is, knowing. So John Thorrington, Steve Cherundolo, and the powers that be here sat down and looked at the schedule, obviously, and said, all right, how do we approach these things? We don't know about injuries, but we know about international duty. This is going to hit us here. Where will we be covered? You can see that, right? You can see that coming to view. So when this week came up, they say, okay, that's why we brought in Ryan Hollingshead. We know that we have that. Mm-hmm. That's why we wanted Daniil Henry, so we have cover, and we kept some of these guys around as well, so that whatever comes our way, we're ready.
2 starting midfielders are gone, right? But you go and you get your focal point, your base of that midfield in Ilie Sanchez. He's been here the whole time. Now you put in maybe a Poncho where you feel good about. You've already given Latif a start with Ilie. So like you said, he's seen what he's going to be lacking and where he needs to make sure that he's reinforced. And he's had guys, little kind of linchpins in there and knowing what's coming.
That's smart. That's smarts for this club because, and we always talked about where are these guys going to get minutes. You know, and Poncho's played a big role here in training. There's a chance for him, and he's worked hard. He's appeared in some of these games.
Well, you and I always go to John when something happens. We go, oh, how did this happen? And he's like, Max, we're thinking 2-3 steps ahead. My calendar is a year. You know, he's laying out the year. He's thinking months and months ahead. So, yes, of course, he saw the schedule and immediately was like, here's where I got to go.
You can see the game on KCOP 13. Check it out. We'll be with Warren Barton and Jordan Harvey. Everyone loves Jordan. We'll be back on the broadcast as well. And Mark Rogandino. Check out our World Cup stream on
World Cup
110
stream
Football
on Friday.
and the Soccer OG, my little baby. Mm-hmm. We're going to be Friday. We're going to break it down, and we'll talk about where Canada and the USA and Ecuador and Uruguay and everyone else falls. It's World Cup draw. It's already here. You may not have known that, but we'll have a live stream there. We're going to be right back, and we'll be joined by Ismael Tajouri-Shradi, winger extraordinaire. Very interesting story right here on Inside LAFC, the Max and Vince podcast. Rate, review, subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell a friend. We love you guys. Back here on Inside LAFC, the Max and Vince podcast. Thrilled to welcome in for the first time, not the last, Ismael Tajouri-Shradi. Welcome in. And how's LA Life treating you?
Guys, thank you guys for having me. LA treated me very well so far. I'm loving it. I'm getting know more and more every day, and can't wait to explore it more.
We were talking about you before you got here, and it was just the most interesting background, and we want to hear about it. So, Swiss-born, Libyan, spent some time in Libya, and that now grew up in Austria.
Exactly.
Being in Europe, you've probably seen incredible things, but that connection to your Libyan, the Libyan Lions, obviously, and your family. How has that helped you in life to be so cosmopolitan, to have those experiences here in the United States where many people don't?
Yeah, how you said, I've been quite a lot of places. Like how you said, born in Switzerland, Bern. I stayed there for a little bit. Moved to Libya with my family. Stayed there for a little bit when I was a kid, and then we moved to Austria, in Vienna, and then where I mostly grow up there. Start playing there. Yeah, that's how everything works. And
favorite place you've been to?
Favorite place? It's
That's tough.
That's really tough. That's a tough question.
It's a long list, right?
I mean,
yeah,
and your MLS cities are New York City and Los Angeles now. So
It's really tough. Like I lived in New York. I'm in LA. I've been in different cities, but I would say if I have to choose one, I would say maybe. It's tough. Dubai is on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
What do you like about Austria? What's
Vienna? It's a beautiful city. It's really small, but I mean compare where I live now. But it's one of the best or lovely city. If anyone have to wanna see something from Austria, have to go to Vienna. It's a really nice city. It's a quiet city. It's a clean city. You got good food. You got good quality of everything. So it's a good city.
where does your footballing journey start? Because you just mapped it out for us. Kind of you moved around a little bit earlier, but you moved to all football crazy countries that really love football. So I'm wondering where's the genesis of your love of football come from? Is it from family or from where you lived? How did it start?
Yeah, it's I would say from family. My father used to play as well. I mean, in Libya, don't get the opportunities to be a profession, to get a life out of it. But that's how I was. I wanted always to be a professional soccer player because I grew up from. When I grew up, it's just we have only soccer back in Libya. My father was a player as well, so it makes it easier. That's how it works. So yeah, the whole family is football crazy. Mm-hmm. So it makes it very easy for me. And I wanted from when I saw the pictures from my father how he was playing, he was a winger as well. So I say, okay, I wanna be the son who make it as a professional soccer. And yeah, thanks God it's been a good journey so far, and more to come, hopefully.
That's my next question, because as a son of a father who was talented, probably wanted to play pro himself, and he sees you kind of going along the same line, I'm sure he maybe told you some lessons of like, maybe make sure to go to school, or did he always say like, hey, if you want to be a professional soccer player, go for it?
Nah, he was, first of all, he was always to want me to be good in the school. But to be honest, I was maybe not the best in the school from my brothers and sisters. So I'm happy that I took the other part. My father was like really strict on being good in soccer as well in school. But yeah, that was his first things. Like whatever I do, I have to do it proper.
The best of your ability.
Well, let me jump in here. So you were good in school, but your brothers and sisters were so good that they raised the bar.
Thank you.
Okay, that's what I know how it is. I know I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Libya always intrigues me, and I know you've been called in to play for the Libya national team. Even the European roots, you're not in Libya, and certainly not now in the United States. But where is it? Where do you see it going? Because how is the football there? And obviously, so many challenges. But where is it now? Where would you like to see it?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the best way. Soccer in Libya. I mean, there is so many talents over there. There is so many.
The talent's good there.
Talent is really good, really good. We have really good players. As a national team, when I went there, I was actually surprised how many good players we have back in Libya. Because I never played in Libya. But when you go to national team and meet players from there, you can see, oh wow, they got something, but it just doesn't get you more and more. Like there is so many to do. I hope right now, how I said, there is so much work to do to get in a point where we say, okay, we are here where we wanted. I hope one day we can, even if I am in or after my career, maybe I can do anything to help to give the talents more chance to get out of the country, or if they are there, they get the chance to present themselves, to present the country. So yeah, there is for sure so many works to do, but as far as now, I would say it's getting better.
Yeah, just to follow up, because the neighbors of Libya, Tunisia and Algeria, they're all doing very well. Could you see Libya with that infrastructure, maybe coached by Ismael Tajouri-Shradi one day, or could reach those levels?
I'm sure, 100%. They can reach this level, because we got these players. Let's say Algeria have, Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco. They're all how you say, they got top players. They got the infrastructure, they got the work, they got the coach, they got everything from up to down. They get everything settled up. That's what Libya still have a lot of work to do, and I hope, how you said, maybe one day I will be the coach, Ismael, and get this done.
Book it.
I like it. I like a guy that already says he's thinking about coaching because you get so many players that are like, not for me.
I mean, I'm same. Like as now, I don't see me.
I brought it up. He doesn't.
I know, but you took it on. You were like, yeah, I can do that.
did take it on. You
There's
did,
a lot
you
of
did.
guys that you say coach, and they're like,
Yeah, I may be one of those guys who will say I can't see myself as a coach, but you never know.
well, you've
You
got a
never
lot
know.
of good years left to
Yes.
play. So
Exactly.
let's
So-
move to you playing. Let's move to you playing now. Obviously, you come from NYCFC where you won a championship, and you know this in a group. One of the hardest things once you reach your goal, it's like you let off just a little bit. But now you've moved here to LA where we so badly want trophies. Does that help you to be in a new group where you feel like they're just as hungry as maybe you are to go back to back?
For sure, definitely. I think, like how we said, if you reached, like New York City was working so many years to win this trophy, and then I'm happy or I'm glad that I was in this group to win the MLS Cup with New York City. But then you can feel like maybe, okay, that was the point. So for me, it was actually a really perfect move for me to come to organization, to kind of this big club who's hungry for trophies, for everything they want to do. It's just their eyes is just looking forward for this trophy. Whatever it is we're gonna take every chance. We're gonna take every opportunity to win this cup. I think I can see it. The club is hungry. The players are hungry. The coaching staff, and I'm more than happy to be here, so I can get hungry as well. I think like how you said, if you win something, my New York City is gonna.
You want some more?
Yeah, you get a little down a little bit, but if you move somewhere and then you wanna win more.
Yeah.
You wanna have this feeling again and again.
This team said, and this is maybe it's a cliche in America where they say, we want players who have won, and you bring that into training. And what's different about you now that you know you've lifted a trophy in Major League Soccer, and how do you bring that into this kind of into a team's fabric? Then now that you are a winner, you're like, I've got this. How's your brain, or how have you changed?
I would say like the brain is after this feeling when you win the cup, kind of first few days after that you can't recognize it. I mean you can wow, okay, I win it, but it's just like okay, whatever. But then like few weeks after, when you get off season and then you get actually think about it, was actually a really good experience, amazing feeling. And then you move now to a different city, different club with so many hungry people around this club, where you say okay, wow, that's actually this feeling, I wanna have it again. And I tried to bring this my winner mentality, I would say, or my hungry every day to training, give my best, and the biggest goal is to win the trophy.
Having been in the league for a little bit, and like you said, you guys were working to that goal and you finally put it together, you kind of have an idea of like what it takes to win here. And now I know to win a trophy, there's a lot of luck that goes into it, a lot of other things. But now that you've come here, do you see like, are there a lot of pieces there that you feel can be successful in a playoff run?
Yeah, I will show 100%. We got the team, we got the coaching staff, we got the all behind this club. We got everything what we have to win a trophy, to win the Western Conference, to win the MLS Cup. Like how we said, is always the regular seasons can be perfect, and then you are in the playoff. You are as the last number 6, 7, and then you get in the playoff and you win the MLS Cup. It's a lot of luck, like how we say, but it's also a lot of some small details, I would say, in playoff is gonna come in, and it's just some games you're not gonna play the best how you want to play, but you have to win these games, like how we saw in every year. Whatever who win the MLS Cup, they don't do well maybe in a regular season, but then in playoff they are here, and that's what's matter.
Final question, real quick. You can answer this very quickly. Your goal against Inter Miami. How did you know you were going to take the free kick? Was that Steve saying, or did you say it? And was that a shot or was that a cross?
He's already told me this.
He's telling me too, but I want
So
to
I wonder if he's going to change his answer.
Let's see. I mean, look, I'm when the free kick came, is a perfect position for lefty, which is I love this position. So I just I think one of the coaching staff said easy, take it, and I knew it was a little bit windy. I saw the gap. I said, okay, I want this ball right there. If someone touch it, perfect. I got the assist. If it goes right away, it's a goal.
Great answer.
And that's how it works.
It's a shot. It was a shot.
Was a shot.
Correct answer.
Either assist or goal. So I got the goal.
Yes.
We're so delighted that you're on the club and great chatting with you. And thanks for opening up your background to us a bit so we get to know you a little better and our listeners as well.
Thank you guys for having me, and until the next time.
There it is. Ismael Tajouri-Shradi. That puts a wrap on this show. Enjoy the World Cup qualifiers. Enjoy the draw. Whoever you're rooting for, make sure you tell everyone about our little podcast. We appreciate everyone out there inside LAFC, the Max and Vince podcast. We'll see you next time.
Cut.
Oh, yes! They knocked on the door, and they finally kicked it through.